Hi, welcome into the Road to Wellness. We're driving down the road to wellness with Dr. Stanley Himes. My name is Edgar Champagne. Thank you for tuning in again. Last week we were talking about the importance of sleep, and today we're moving on to another subject, the importance of water. I don't know if you know this or not, but 60% of your body is made of water. That's what we're consisting of 60% of the body, water. It affects the brain, the skin, digestive tract, and everything else. Dr. Himes, this is a very important subject. And we cannot get enough water. Talk about that for a moment.
Well, most people are chronically dehydrated. You know, we have the old adage that you're supposed to drink eight ounce glasses of water, so that's 64 ounces. But that in and of itself is not enough water. Now, you have to remember there's water in foods, but most people are not eating very much in the way of fruits and vegetables, which have high water contents. They're not drinking the water, so they're chronically dehydrated. So remember, your brain is 80% water. Your muscles, including your heart, are 75% water. Your blood is 83% water, and your lungs are 90% water. So I want you to think of water as a nutrient for your body's needs.
Water as a nutrient, okay.
That's right. So let's look at the brain. The brain is mostly water, like we said, and drinking enough water so that you're well hydrated can help you in improving your mood, maintaining memory function, aiding in concentration and thinking, increasing blood flow and oxygen to your brain, and can prevent and relieve headaches. So this is just being well hydrated. If you are chronically dehydrated, you are going to have problems, and add that to the lack of sleep, which we talked about last week, you can be in a bad shape as far as your memory and your thinking.
So you're saying drinking water can help you help your memory and learn to concentrate and what have you for water?
Just from water, from being well hydrated.
I've heard in the past that if a person suffers from migraine headaches, they could drink so many gulps of water, count to 10 or something, and drink some more water, and it would kind of interrupt that throbbing.
I don't know about the count to 10, but just the hydration in and of itself can help with migraine headaches or tension headaches for that matter.
But drinking water can help you with your memory and concentration.
Right.
So you mean, now, would I be able to drink a gallon of water and maybe hit the lottery?
Not today.
Okay.
But I think I'll have some because
Okay.
I want to be well hydrated.
The importance of water, and it's all about your skin. Sometimes people have flakiness in their scalps and their skin is flaking.
Right, your skin, that can be dandruff or a lot of other things, but your skin is a barrier to the outside, and your skin contains 85% water, so being well hydrated can help your skin prevent wrinkles, prevent dryness, so that's very important. But let's talk about some of the other things that water does as far as your body fluids. It creates saliva. Saliva is the very first place where digestion begins in your mouth to break down food.
Okay.
So if you don't have enough saliva for whatever reason, i.e. dehydration, then you're not going to break down the food before it gets to the stomach. Then when it gets to the stomach, your stomach is going to have to release more acid, causing an increased rate of acid reflux. We have a ton of acid reflux in people. Regulates your body temperature. So one of the ways that the body adjusts to hot weather is to sweat. And if you don't have enough water on hand, then you're not going to sweat enough to keep your body temperature down. You can overheat. And so, you know, we hear during the summer that we have people that have heat stroke or whatever. They are probably significantly dehydrated.
Let me ask you this. You're saying that it helps with the digestive tract. Is it lack of water that causes some people to have a hard bowel or a hard pieces?
Yes, absolutely. People who are constipated most likely are dehydrated because the water goes through and the stool is formed by extracting water from the stool. So just think, if you're not drinking enough water, that stool is going to be hard as a rock.
I see.
And you're not going to be able to move it. I have noticed with my increasing of water intake, that is not a problem.
I see.
And that's just drinking water. We're not talking about laxatives or anything else. Now, We'll talk in the future about the fact that people need to eat more fruits and vegetables to get fiber. When you add the fiber to water, it's like taking a broom in there and clearing your bowel out, detoxifying, getting all that waste out. So it's great.
In your studies, did you all find the people in Italy who eat a lot of pasta and pizzas with cheese, do they consume more than the average person in terms of water? Do you know, or that ever been discussed?
I don't know that that's been studied, but they drink a lot of water and a lot of liquids.
I see.
And they tend to be very hydrated.
You mentioned that the water cleanses the blood, and how much of the body is made of blood? I mean, how much water is in the blood?
Oh, in the plasma, you know, blood is the red cells and the plasma. The plasma is the clear part. 90% of plasma is water. So it's very important for the function of the body for you to be well hydrated. Because just think, if the plasma does not have enough water in it, then it's very thick, viscous. And that means it's going to raise your blood pressure. Your heart's going to have to pump around sludge. That puts more work on the heart, which is not good. So we're just talking about hydration. Also, let's talk about digestion of nutrients. The water, having enough water helps you to take those nutrients and bring them into the body. So water is very important on a lot of areas. The alcohol is a problem because it interferes with the connection of the brain to your kidneys. The brain tells your kidneys how much water to excrete. If you are dehydrated, it's going to tell the kidneys, you've got to hold on to that water you can't excrete. So you're going to have more toxins in your body because of that. Because your body is going to hold on to water, to hold on to your blood pressure, to keep everything copacetic. You drink enough water, then that urine, the water flows through there and takes that waste out. So just think of water as a way to get rid of the waste that the body makes in the urine, in sweat, and in feces, in the stool.
We want to come back and hammer a very important part that I was listening to as Dr. Hyams was talking about the importance of our water intake, how it helps form saliva, and that begins the digestive process in our body. So we're going to talk about that when we come back and more on The Road to Wellness. We're driving down that road with Dr. Stanley Hyams on CTV Beam. Thank you for joining us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Road to Wellness on CTV Beam with Dr. Stanley Hyams. My name is Edgar Champagne. We just got through talking with Dr. Hyams about the importance of water intake, and you were mentioning saliva. Now, there's effects with water and kidneys with water, but I want to talk about the saliva one more time, real quick, about how the digestive tract starts, or the digestive system starts with saliva.
Right. Your digestive system goes from your mouth to your anus. Digestion begins in the mouth. You chew your food, and which is why I tell people you need to chew your food 20 to 30 times
per bite
before you swallow it. 20 to 30 times. In that time, saliva is released, and those enzymes in the saliva help to break down the food, so that by the time it gets to the stomach, it's broken down into really small areas, and that acid can work much better, so you can get the nutrition as it goes through the bowel and is absorbed. So if you are dehydrated, you're not going to make enough saliva.
I see. Okay.
So that digestive process won't go ahead.
Let's move on to the subject of alcohol with water.
So alcohol interferes with the communication between the brain and the kidneys. In the last segment, we talked about the fact that the brain tells the kidneys what's going on. You know, it's over everything. It's the master cylinder. And if you're not drinking enough water, it's going to hold on to water. So alcohol breaks that connection. It messes everything up. It tells the kidneys, you got to get rid of some urine whether you're dehydrated or not. So alcohol acts as a diuretic. You know, some people are on diuretics for their blood pressure, which cause you to go to urinate more. That's what alcohol does. So alcohol dehydrates you even more. So that's not a good thing. One of the things we talked about, the kidneys getting enough water keeps flushing the impurities out. Blood urea nitrogen, you've heard of that, is one of the wastes from the cells, and that's released through the kidneys. It takes a certain amount of water for us hydrated to do that. The other thing that water helps is with your joints. Now, in our joints we have bone, but we have cartilage to help that bone for the joints to work. That cartilage is like 90% water.
I see.
So if you're dehydrated, that cartilage can't work as well. Normally your joints are kind of squishy and whatever, but if you have dry cartilage, that's a problem.
Is that why people just show favoritism to a certain step or an angle or their ankles or knees or?
Could be. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. But it really helps your joints. Water is important for your tissues to be hydrated, for your cells to be hydrated. It's important for your spinal cord. Your spinal cord is bathed in fluid, and you need to be well hydrated for your spinal cord to have enough cushion from the cerebral spinal fluid. So tissues, spinal cord, joints, all are improved with you drinking enough water. So one of the other things that drinking a good amount of water can do is to, people have said one of the myths is that if you drink a lot of water, you'll lose weight. That's not necessarily the case. What it does is that if you drink water before you eat and fill your stomach up with water, you're going to tend to eat less. And one of the other things is that you will tend to eat slower. I tell people to eat slower, enjoy your food. When you go to a nice restaurant, it's not like a fast food place where they're running in, running out. Nice restaurant, you have low music, the lights low, having a romantic evening. Each course is done over a long period of time so that you enjoy your meal. That time gives your brain time to say, hey, the stomach tells the brain, I'm full, you need to cut this off. And the brain says, you've reached satiation, you've had enough. So water can help that, and so that in that way can help you to lose weight.
Okay.
One of the other things we can talk about with water is that important to drink water. In women, I would say you need to drink in the order of 85 to 90 ounces. Men, 100, 110. Take your weight, cut it in half, and that's the number of ounces you should drink in fluid. So during the summertime, when it's hot, you're sweating, you're going to have to replace that. So you got to drink even more water to replace that. When you exercise, you want to make sure you're well hydrated because you're going to lose a lot of water in exercising. So you want to drink plenty of water before you exercise so you replace that's going to be lost.
Well, Dr. Himes, your pay grade is probably, in the top, pay grades out here. But how about Willie B. and Annie Mae that live in some of the areas of Columbus or Alabama or different places who can't afford to buy water?
Well,
and the regular water in our purification systems in Phoenix City and out in Columbus, what's the grade that you doctors give it?
I would say in the United States, with our public health system, most of the water from the tap is good. Now,
Except for Flint.
Now, you can get certain filters to help you that you can get in the store.
I see.
But I just want people to think about get the water in first.
Get the water in.
Right. And one of the ways you can get more water is vegetables and fruit. They have a tremendous amount of water in them, contained in them. And I tell people to remember, you eat your fruit, you don't drink it. So we're going to talk later about juices and the water content in them. But for instance, taking some fruit, you can see in this slide here on the screen, we have some fruits and vegetables that are very high in water content. So we've got broccoli, 91% water. Pineapple, 87% water. Watermelon, 92% water. Grapefruit, 91%. Lettuce, 96%. Strawberries, 92%. Cucumbers, 96%. Tomatoes, 94%. Cantaloupe, 90%. Celery, 95%. So if you're eating a lot of these fruits and vegetables, you're going to get water from them also.
I'm learning so much sitting here with you because in our opening show, we were talking about you need to wash your vegetables. And then you're talking about the importance of water. And I just learned that we should chew about 20 to 25 times before we actually swallow our meal.
That's right.
And so that means you'll be taking your time and giving your body a proper chance to digest the food.
Right. So I tell people it's better if you don't eat while you're watching television. Because what you do is you'll just be sitting up there and you'll just be mindlessly eating. Before you know it, the plate's empty, and you know what happened because you're watching TV. If you eat with someone else where you're talking, you have to slow down. You have to eat a bite, chew, talk, and that slows everything down. The slower you eat, the better your digestion.
Okay, that's key. And water intake, very important.
Water intake is very important. So
now give us that equation again about dividing your weight to how much you should be.
So let's say you weigh 200 pounds.
Yes.
That means you should drink 100 ounces of water.
That's a gallon and some, yeah.
That's a lot of water.
That's a lot of
and
water.
I'm here to tell you. So I've kind of, it's not easy drinking that much water.
Yes,
so I've kind of figured it out that I'll drink one of these bottles, which is about 17 ounces of water, that amount of water, every 2.5 hours. If I drink more than that, then I'm going to be going to the bathroom too much and can't get any work done. So I found for me that works really well.
So you must not weigh very much, though.
Water weight.
Water weight, I hear you. So the importance of water, we're learning, ladies and gentlemen, is that you have to have that water because 60% of your body is water. And we were showing you a chart of some of the foods you can eat to get your water intake. We think the best thing for you to do is really drink the water, especially during the summertime. When people are dehydrated, listen, your bowel could be a little harder and everything else. So do the right thing. Get on the road to wellness. We're driving you there.
Let me add one more thing. One of the things that's really good with drinking water is to flavor it. And one of the things I think is really good is to take half of a lemon, squeeze that amount of lemon juice in it, and drink that twice a day. That will help your digestion. It will help your alkalinity. It'll make you more alkaline. A lot of people are into alkaline water. And we can talk about that again as far as what the studies show about alkaline water. But half a lemon and 8 ounces of water twice a day is wonderful.
Thank you for joining us. We'll be right back with more on the Road to Wellness. We're driving on that road with Dr. Stanley Himes on CTV Beam. Thank you for joining us. We'll be right back.
Did you know dragging chains can spark a wildfire?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to the Road to Wellness. We're driving down the road to wellness with Dr. Stanley Himes. You know, Americans know that drinking water is really, really important, but most of us are chronically dehydrated. We're going to talk with Dr. Himes about that and other things like, he gave us a formula a few minutes ago about taking your weight and dividing it in half, and that's how much water, how many ounces you could consume every day to be, generally well hydrated. Dr. Himes, there are some vegetables and some charts that we're going to go over again and talking about the importance of water.
Right. A lot of people say, well, water doesn't taste like anything. It has 0 calories. Well, that's great, but how can I make it so it tastes better? So this chart shows you some healthy ways to invigorate your water. Say, cut some cucumber slices and put it in water. That'll give it a nice taste. Lemon or lime, either slice or the juice. Fresh mint. I like to grow herbs in there. You just put a few mint leaves in there. It'll give it a nice taste. Chia seeds. A little bit of aloe vera juice added to it. Herbal tea bag. Cinnamon. Ginger. Berries. So these are ways so that your water has a nice taste to it, so it's not so boring and doesn't taste like anything.
Yeah, not very bland, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah. And so if we do the cucumbers, obviously you do wash all these vegetables before you.
Well, you use Dawn. Make sure you get all the pesticides off, and then you slice them and put them in there.
Okay.
Absolutely.
The importance of water, that's what we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen, with Dr. Stanley Himes. And
You were talking about how can people filter
Filter.
their water. They have filters in big chugs like Brita and whatever. They can just pour water over it and it'll filter it quite well
in the pitchers.
in the pitchers.
And that's,
right.
a more affordable, economical
That's
way
more-
of doing it.
yes,
Yeah.
that's
okay.
right.
Okay, good, good. All right, so we're going to move on along right now and continue as we talk about water and the importance of our intake. I'm still fascinated with what you were saying, how our body's comprised. Go over again. Would you talk about it briefly about the joints and the spine and how important it is to have
water is correct.
Yeah.
So water's important for your joints and the cartilage, because cartilage is 90% water. If you're dehydrated, that cartilage is not going to cushion the joints, the bones, as it should. Your spinal cord is surrounded by fluid. It's called cerebral spinal fluid. That is made up of 95% water. If you're dehydrated, that's not going to be good. And what happens is if you're dehydrated, the body is going to think about the essential functioning organs, and everybody else is going to be left out. So that means the heart, the lungs, the kidneys. So you're going to have dry skin because the skin, is going to take water away from that. Your joints are going to be dehydrated. It's going to make sure that you survive, to make sure that the heart, the lungs, and the kidneys and the brain are functioning. Everybody else is going to get second shrift.
Well, now let me ask you a question. Now, for a person who's not trained and we don't know medicine, could it be that through our lives, if we don't drink water and we keep going along here, it causes a form of arthritis or rheumatism or something like that, and aches and joints and everything? Could water have probably interrupted that or stopped it from increasing or developing so early?
I think so, absolutely. But people are just chronically dehydrated, in addition to nutrition and other things. But water is very powerful. The other thing that we want to talk about briefly is alkaline water.
Okay.
Now, I've looked at the studies, very hard and difficult, and it just doesn't do anything. People are spending money on this, and what happens is the alkaline water gets to your stomach, and the stomach cells release acid, and it's neutralized. So the best way to alkalinize your body is to take half a lemon, squeeze the juice in 8 ounces twice a day. And the other thing is to eat certain vegetables, and we'll talk about this at a later date, that are more alkaline. So for instance, a very acidic vegetable is a tomato,
I see.
whereas melons and other things are very alkaline. So if your diet has more of the alkaline, then that way you will make yourself more alkaline. But the other thing I want to talk about is a lot of people drink soft drinks, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, sugary drinks, Powerade, Gatorade, for their hydration.
Yeah.
And
Putting
that's
liquids in their body, but not the right liquid.
correct.
Yes.
These are just sugar water.
Okay.
Just sugar water. So the studies show that these are strongly linked to weight gain, to obesity. And what happens is that large amount of sugar is turned into fat. That's bad too. That fat will increase your insulin resistance. So we're going to talk later about diabetes and insulin resistance, but we have an increasing rate of type 2 diabetes and diabetes in this country, particularly among children. So we have people drinking these sugary drinks, and we know that this increases your risk of heart disease, increases your cholesterol, your LDL, the bad cholesterol, all these sugary drinks. Now people say, well, wait a minute, I'm going to drink these that don't have any sugar in it. Well, those are just as bad because those have substances called aspartame, which is very stimulatory to the neurons and causes problems there. Plus, those drinks are 1,000 to 2,000 times sweeter than sugar. So you crave more sugar, and you tend to, that's what happens. People that drink those 0 calories or low calorie stuff, they end up eating more sugar in addition to that.
Well, they've done a good job of selling the diet sodas, making people think that it's 0 calories, but it's got twice the amount of sugar.
Well, no, the 0 calories, the ones that are 0 calories, they don't have sugar. They have sugar substitutes.
I see.
Those sugar substitutes are so sweet that you crave more sugar from other places. And that's what happens. People end up eating more sugar. They don't have sugar, but they have sugar substitutes, which are just as bad or even worse.
Wow.
So remember, let me give you an example. A 12-ounce Coca-Cola or Pepsi is 140 calories and 40 grams of sugar. Now, that's 10 teaspoons of sugar. Now, the American Diabetes Association, Heart Association recommends that you have no more than 6 or 7 teaspoons a day.
A day.
So you've already exceeded that. Apple juice, 12 ounces of apple juice, 165 calories and 39 grams of sugar. So that's 9.8 teaspoons, basically 10 teaspoons. So eat your fruit, don't drink it, because the fruit has the sugar and the fiber together. And what happens is, as your body digests that, the fiber slowly increases the glucose in your system. Whereas if you drink it, your blood sugar goes sky high, your liver then has to take that and try and break that down, puts it into fat, you're in bad shape.
And you get dropped off right there with that energy
right.
level as well. All right, we'll come back with more with Dr. Stanley Himes on the Road to Wellness. We're driving down the road with a very knowledgeable man about nutrition. Thank you for joining us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Road to Wellness on CTVB Beam with Dr. Stanley Himes. My name is Edgar Champagne. Well, Dr. Himes, we've been talking about the importance of water. It aids in our digestive, it helps our blood, our joints, the spine, and it's just a marvelous, marvelous source to really, it kind of keeps us young because the body is 60% water.
Right. Keeps us young, and remember, it's a nutrient. It's a nutrient. It's a nutrient for our body's organs, for our brain, for our joints, and it eliminates waste. A lot of people are into detoxification. Well, this is a natural detoxifier. It's drinking water. It gets all the bad impurities out through the feces, through the stool, through the urine, and sweat. So if you're well hydrated, you will detoxify naturally.
And look younger. All right.
That's right.
Well, coming up next week, we got a very interesting show for you on the Road to Wellness. Dr. Himes is going to drive us down that road and continue toward health. We're going to be talking about vitamin D. And vitamin D is a very important vitamin. You get a lot of vitamin D from the sun. You can tell I got a lot of it. I worked on my tan here a lot. But
That's right. Vitamin D is very important, and most Americans are deficient in vitamin D. So we have been told here over the last 10, 20 years to avoid the sun, worried about skin cancer. So when you put on sunscreen, that blocks the reaction of vitamin D working on the skin and you making that into vitamin D. So vitamin D is a vitamin, but in the body it works as a hormone, which means it sends a signal to do something somewhere else. So vitamin D has a lot of positive effects for our health, but most people have to supplement. And so we're going to talk about that, the foods that have vitamin D in it, and what a deficiency of vitamin D results in. For instance, one area that we know from our studies is that people who have very low vitamin D have a very high rate of depression. So that's something to think about.
all right. We'll come back with that next week on the Road to Wellness. And by the way, our social media is in the workings right now. We've got Tex working on it. You're going to look for our logo. You got the map. Dr. Himes is taking us down the road. There's a road to health and there's a road to unhealthiness. So you'll see that on our Facebook page. We're going to be on Twitter, Instagram, and more. You'll see photographs of us. And Dr. Himes one day is going to take us out and show us his garden. He grows things, actually. So it's very interesting, gentlemen. We're learning a lot from the guru of wellness with Dr. Stanley Himes. Thank you for joining
And
us.
there's nothing like fresh lettuce, fresh herbs from your garden.
That's right.
If you've never tasted lettuce like that, it pops in your mouth.
Thank you so much. All right, so that's going to just about do it for this week. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back next week, and we'll talk about vitamin D with Dr. Stanley Himes. Thank you for joining us.